Hope you guys are ready for another episode of Double D's in your face. That's right.
And here we are. We're back in action, and we're in the segment that is known as Double D's in Your Face. And with a special guest, we've got Kevin Gilligan that is joined with us as well, a former police officer back in New York City that is living a retired life out in the state of Arizona, but working on all kinds of things in the health and wellness sector. So we welcome Kevin to the Double D's in Your Face.
Right. Welcome, Kevin. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, thank you. It's great being here.
So what's on the agenda there, Tony? What kind of questions do we have from either in the news or from any of our fans?
Well, I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on the fight coming up this weekend with Jon Jones making his triumphant return after a 3-year hiatus, against Ciryl Gane. What do you guys, any thoughts on this coming up?
Well, again, just notice the fact that Jon Jones is now moving up in a weight class here as well. So need to set the stage here properly that he's going up in a weight class.
Yes.
And it'll be his first time competing at heavyweight, correct?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. That is correct.
So, and he was doing part of his training camp right in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. With Cejudo's camp.
With Henry Cejudo. Yep. Yeah. Now, these are all things that I heard about. I actually stopped in a couple of times and I spoke with Henry and Henry did acknowledge that Jon was in and getting a couple workouts in a day. But the day that I was there, Jon Jones was not at that practice.
Yeah.
So I know Kevin follows this quite extensively there. First of all, go ahead there, Kevin.
No. One of the things that I find interesting is Jon Jones's frame. He comes from a family. His two brothers, one older, one younger, are professional football players, and they're very big guys.
Yep.
Jon is a very tall guy, but if you've been around Jon, and I've seen him in person as well. He's got a very slender frame, especially down his lower half, his legs. His calves you can almost fit one hand around his whole calf. I mean, his calves are so skinny.
Oh, they're that.
Holding that kind of heavyweight frame, a legit heavyweight. I think is going to be really interesting to see, how he handles himself with a big guy like that. Because Ciryl Gane's a big guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's a big athletic guy. So it's going to be interesting.
I don't know much about his background there. Is he a leg kicker at all?
Yeah. That's
well-rounded.
that's one of the things I'm anxious to see too, because he doesn't really he's got no meat on his legs. I mean, he really doesn't. They're really skinny, his legs. Strong. He's a strong guy, but there's not a lot of mass on the lower frame. He carries most of his weight on the upper body. So that should be interesting.
Well, again, when Jon Jones first came on the scene, he was probably one of the most I thought very well-rounded in the sense that he had great stand-up ability, but he had very unique ability because he had spinning back elbows, he had spinning back fists, very creative, and did a lot of matches early. So the fact that he's moved up into a weight class with people that are bigger physically stature-wise, it will be interesting to see what happens. I mean, this is a very heavily anticipated match. It's a complete sellout. Trying to get tickets for the event. So I imagine the pay-per-view buy rates are going to be through the ceiling, because again, that typically when you see heavyweights, someone is going to get knocked out. Knocked out or ground and pound out. I mean, I don't foresee the match going five rounds, because you don't really see very many heavyweight matches that will ever go 5 rounds. So again, that's my quick 2 cents worth. What
Gonz,
about you?
Gonz was in that horrible match against she what's the champ's name?
Which one? Oh, Nagano?
Yeah.
Ngannou?
Okay, yeah, that was
where they just stood there and stared at each other for 5 rounds, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
That went 5 rounds. That was boring. Yeah, that wasn't very good.
So,
and I think
Yeah, and Ngannou
gotta make contact with each other.
I think John's what
if they do make contact, then somebody does get knocked out. When they just stand there and they avoid each other and they don't fight, it's called a fucking fight. And when they're not fighting, I mean, I wouldn't pay either one of them, you know, or something like
there
that.
should be incentive, for that. You have to earn the.
Yeah, it's called a paycheck.
Yeah, you have to earn.
That's the incentive.
Yeah. Yep. And I think Jon Jones they went the full 5 rounds his last 3 fights before
Yeah. I think
weight class
Ciryl I think Ciryl Gane's gonna have the speed advantage too. He's a very athletic guy. And every fight, it's funny, I wasn't a big fan when he first came in to the UFC, but
he's grown on me.
I've really started to like him. He's especially the Tuivasa fight, that last fight. He really lit him up. He lit him up, and and he's athletic. He can move. He moves like a middleweight. He's a big dude. And he's in very good shape. Comes into very good shape. I watched some of the embedded with for this week with Jon Jones, and he just doesn't look. He looks soft. Jon Jones, and again, he's that lower frame. He just doesn't carry his weight. I don't think he's a true. Is he heavyweight? Yes. But I don't know. He just doesn't carry it. I don't think it's going to be to his advantage. I think he's going to be.
He doesn't. You're saying
that?
He doesn't have the skeletal structure
to hold that weight.
Yeah. All of his mass is upper body. I mean, if you watched a lot of these videos that he put out a couple of months ago where he was doing all this powerlifting and stuff, where he really put on the weight. I mean, he's a strong guy. Don't get me wrong. He's really, even his legs are strong, but there's no mass to them. I mean, all of his weight is carried on his upper body, and I think that's gonna be a detriment in the fight.
Because the more that you keep throwing punches, I mean, that could wear him out in the process there too. Because 5-minute rounds, that's a long time. Not too many heavyweights go the full distance.
No, and if you have somebody weighs 250 pounds leaning on you, that takes a hell of a toll on you, really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And Ciryl Gane can kick, and again, every time I see John's calves, I'm like, those calves get kicked by a big heavyweight, man. You don't want to see what happened to Chris Weidman or Anderson Silva, but
a real heavyweight.
That's a scary thing. That's a scary thing. You know what I mean?
And
so,
do you think it's harder to go up in weight or go down?
I think it's harder to go down because as the older you get, the more you put weight on.
But then, what do you think? Kevin was just saying, he says the Jon Jones frame is smaller. So do you think he might get tired faster because he's putting on extra weight he's not used to carrying around?
Of course we get tired.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think Gane, because Gane is a much more natural heavyweight. We all know. Jon Jones was phenomenal at 205. He's, everybody calls him the GOAT. And he would walk around probably like 225, 230. Now he's thrown on an extra 30, 40 pounds, from what I understand. I don't know what he's going to weigh in at the fight, but I'm sure it's going to be around 250 or above. To put that on in 2 years by powerlifting and everything else, like you said, he's been out. He hasn't been fighting for three, maybe 4 years. That's quite a hill to climb.
Yeah.
And you got a younger guy like Gane who's an up and comer, and
Yeah, but Guns
I don't know.
extremely boring. He's not aggressive. He is not an aggressive fighter, and that makes all the difference in the world because it's called a fucking fight. And if
Yeah,
you're not an aggressive, you're not a fighter. I mean, that's all there is to it.
but
You're a defender. You're a counter.
but
And
yeah, but when that last fight he had with Tuivasa, who is a fighter, he lit him up when he was engaged. Gane got into it, and Gane tore him up. So
Well, Tuivasa made him fight.
Yeah,
He's
I think
aggressive, and he came in. What do you think about the shoey? No, Don.
I wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't drink a beer out of your shoe.
You see some feet out there. No way, man.
No way. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I'd pass on that too.
Yeah.
So what do you think this fight says for the heavyweight division? Bringing, you got Jon Jones coming back, hasn't fought in over 3 years, and Ciryl Gane's the next thing, who's 1-1 in his last 2 fights. Obviously lost to Ngannou.
Is for the title too?
Yeah.
Why isn't
why isn't some of the
me is Stipe? Why is Stipe fighting for the title?
Yeah. So that's my point. What do you think this says for the heavyweight division in the UFC right now? Just this is the best fight they have.
No, they're just selling tickets.
It's a money grab, right?
They're just selling tickets.
You think there's more deserving people out there?
Yeah, Stipe had the fucking belt. He was a champion.
Yeah.
I mean, because you got Curtis Blades number 2 right now. That Sergey Popovich number 3.
Yep.
Blades is number 2.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he should be number 2.
Oh.
There's got to be somebody better with him. I mean, I don't know if he's won his last the fights but I mean, I don't know. I think that when
isn't Pavlovich isn't he the backup fighter too for this fight?
I believe so.
Yeah. He's a good up and comer. I mean, he's been knocking everybody out.
Yeah.
But like you said, when you get past 4 or 5, the stock really drops big time.
Yeah, the heavyweight division used to be one of the you were excited to see Crow Cop fight and Belfort and all the Bob Sapp, Dan Severn, Don Frye.
That was pride. That was pride. That was not UFC. UFC was always
But my point is heavyweights. They're out there. Where are these? We're big ass men want to get in there and fight like the old days. Where men were men.
UFC was either had a strong heavyweight division or a completely weak one.
Yeah,
and I think we're in the middle of a weak one right now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we need to see some. Well, who do you think? Who you got this weekend? Who do you think's gonna win? Jones or Gane?
I have no idea because I haven't been impressed by Gans. I just have not been impressed. I don't find him an aggressive fighter. I find him a very boring fighter, and I resent that. I don't call them fighters. And then Jones has been out for 3 years and going up 40 pounds.
Yep.
So it's
first time as a heavyweight. Yeah. How do you judge that?
Right.
And then, what shape is he going to be in? Did he hurt himself lifting too much or something? You never know. What condition he's in. Trying to,
I take Gane. I think again, I agree with what Don said. I mean, I haven't been impressed. I think Gane's had 3 or 4 fights prior to this one. The very first fight he had in the UFC, I wasn't impressed with, and then slowly he started to, grab my attention. In this last fight, Tuivasa, he beat him up. So I think if engaged, and I think Jon Jones is that kind of a fighter. He's going to engage he's going to bring out the, what kind of true fighter Gane can be. And I think he's just too athletic. What I do like about Gane is he's an athlete. I mean, he moves really well. And he's a true heavyweight, where I think Jon is, he's like a round peg trying to fit into a square hole. You know what I mean? It's, I think it's, I don't think it's going to work. So I take Gane.
Yeah. What about you, Dan?
Well, again, my information just really it came from Kevin, from previous stuff we've talked about prior to tonight, and again, I've not seen any of God's matches whatsoever, so I really had that to go by. But again, just through conversations with Kevin, that I just kind of felt like, well, it sounds like Ciryl Gane might come out victorious over Jon Jones. But it just all depends on, if Jon rises to the occasion. Like I said, he's a very probably a very diversified heavyweight when he first came on the scene, but he hasn't been on the scene consistent because Jon Jones is his own worst enemy a lot of times. So he's had a lot of problems, outside of the cage.
I think it's all going to come down to footwork. If Jones can stay away from him, and if Gane can catch him.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that's where Gane is being, if you're gonna underestimate him in other areas, like you said, his toughness and his how he engages the fight himself. But he moves very well. He really does. He's kind of scary the way he moves as a big guy like that, and I think that's what's going to surprise Jon. He's supposedly a very strong guy too. They said, when he gets a hold of you, you feel his strength, and you're like, okay, well, that's.
Yeah, but we saw how Jones did to Cormier, when they were grappling.
Yeah,
and Cormier was on two teams.
Yeah,
so that's something that's uncommon and unnatural for somebody to handle somebody who's a two-time Olympian like that.
That's a very good point. So
I hope it's a good fight, though. I just hope it's a good fight. Yeah.
No, yeah,
we all do. Shit, we're all tired of bad fights.
Yeah, all the hype cards end up sucking.
But I mean, I think the little Russian gal is gonna put on a better fight, Valentina.
Yeah,
she's gonna knock.
Oh, she's gonna.
She'll knock this guy on the first round.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I'm excited about this new girl Blanchfield. To get into to match up with Shevchenko.
Yeah, she looks good.
This girl, she looks really good.
Yep.
And I think Shevchenko needs a real challenge.
Oh yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, that'll be a good one. That'll be coming up soon, hopefully.
What do you guys think of this Bo Nickel?
I haven't seen him yet. The scuttlebutt's all about him, and be interesting to see how he goes.
Yep. So you can live up to the hype.
Yeah. There's a lot of hype around him.
He's obviously athletic, and tough. I mean, win the Danny Hodge award, and he's a 3-time national champion. I mean, hell, he's a hell of a wrestler and a hell of an athlete. But, all the question is, can he take the pain involved from a punch in the nose?
Yep.
Right.
The real test.
I mean, can his legs stand up to the leg kick? How bad are his knees? I mean, if you get somebody like Jon Jones who comes in there and does that front kick to the knee, I think that's chicken shit. I think that ought to be outlawed. Because all you're gonna do is cripple somebody up with something which is not conducive to fighting. I mean, sure, it's a part of a fight, but it's not part of a proper strategic fight. You know, because that's just like landing elbows just to cut somebody. You know.
Yeah.
Hell,
I want to see if John fights the same style, like you said, Don. I mean, with that front kick that he does all the time, is he going to come out that same way being, 40, 50 pounds heavier, it's, that's what I'm excited to see. What kind of, is it going to be the same Jon Jones we're used to seeing, or is it going to be a different version of him, because you know what you're going to get with Ciryl Gane. He's going to come out and he's going to swiftly move around the ring, and he's going to it's going to be interesting. That's what I think is going to be really interesting to see, how this starts,
Yep.
Mr. Severn, you were uncannily quiet tonight. What is that? What is going?
No, I was actually just taking it in because there's not much. As I said earlier, I've not seen Ciryl Gane in his any of his matches there, so I don't really have any kind of input really to put there. And any matches I've seen about Jon Jones are his matches from a few years back. So that's I agree with the aspect that weight is going to be a difference. I mean, how long has it taken him to put this weight on? How comfortable is he moving around into it? Because it's going to affect his cardiovascular. So, if again, as I'm listening to both of you and Kevin speak there, Don, I mean, it's like I'm learning more about the strategies that I would be trying to recommend for each fighter. To me, it makes sense for Ciryl Gane to kind of move in as quickly as possible, trying to overwhelm Jon Jones.
I gotta see a man about a horse.
Okay, you go ahead. We'll carry on. But again, Kevin, what you're saying before, I think it just makes sense for Ciryl Gane just to move on in and just to take the fight to Jones and to I mean, almost use like that boxing type style of throwing a couple of blows as you get in and then getting into maybe clinches. I mean, maybe someone is intelligent enough in his camp to show him how to do some close quarter combatives. Whether it's with legs and stomps and knees or how to work that shoulder in there for jaw jacking and shoulder punching. But
right.
I don't know. There's not very many coaches or athletes that do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's funny because Gane is like you said, he's light on his feet. So to get him in that position is going to be a strategy. I'm sure John's going to try to pull off, but whether he's going to be able to do that or not, that's the big question mark. But one of the things, on the embedded series for the UFC, that just made a real impression on me is, John has been hanging around these UFC heavyweights. They're actually ex-UFC heavyweights, and they were all three of them that they featured on the embedded series because they're very close to him in this training for this fight. They were all very unsuccessful heavyweights in the UFC. That's why they're no longer with the UFC, and they're all in very poor shape. Again, I'm scratching my head watching this, going, why is he featuring these guys? Because they were. I mean, if you watch the embeddeds that are out there for the UFC for this week, these guys were in all of them, and I was just not impressed with any of it. I was like, this guy is the GOAT, and he's surrounding himself with these guys that, are subpar UFC fighters, and okay, I don't get it. I don't get it. There's so much more talent out there that could really, test or put John in a better position, I guess. But I don't know.
Like Dan
I
Severn,
just thought it was
maybe?
interesting.
maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I
should be
mean,
there.
I just don't. You know, you do some of this math, and it doesn't make any sense. You know, I don't know.
Well, you're a
So-
product of who you surround yourself with. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
That goes in a
Yeah,
lot
and
of
it's-
different ways there, Tony. That is true in the name of the fight game, but then also you know,
In
'cause we
life.
were talking about a bunch of politics earlier, and you are the same way with in the world of politics. If you want to be successful, be surround yourself with successful people, like-minded individuals. If you know if you got a bunch of losers hanging around you, I mean your chances of becoming successful are not that high, because they'll be looking to try to derail you at every turn. So
Yep.
it only makes it's common sense to me. But in today's world, common sense has left the building.
Yep.
yeah. Well, you know, the ironic thing about what you're saying, what you just said, Dan, is the last and one of the videos I just watched today. He was talking about how he had, you know, Jon Jones was talking about how he had some really bad people around him, you know, the last couple of years when he was running with all, you know, having all these issues. And this is the crew that he's lined himself up with that are the good ones. I'm sitting back going, and I'm not judging these guys personally. I mean, I don't really know them personally. I just know them as the only reason I know them is because they were used to be UFC fighters, and they weren't very good. And again, they're featured on these embeddeds because they're helping him with his fight preparation, and they weren't very good as fighters. So, you know,
Interesting.
that's where I get lost. Yeah, that's where I get lost. I'm like, okay, well, why are you bringing? Because Jon Jones could get any fighters he wants. He can get the cream of the cream if he wanted them, but he chose these guys. So I'm like, okay, I don't get it, but you know, I haven't gotten most of what Jon Jones has done in the last couple of years. So maybe, I don't know, you know. So yeah, I hope it's a competitive fight. I just hope that it's just it looks like a good card, and I just hope it's a good fight.
Yeah, me too. Hope that everyone actually shows up and nothing happens, no substitutions or anything again.
Nice to have a good card, that's for sure.
You're gonna be there, right, Don?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. I'll
Awesome.
be there.
Awesome.
Yep.
You're gonna be sitting right cage side there, Don, just so that we could see you, or
And we'll sit there and wave at everybody, do the old parade wave, princess parade.
You got that down, Don. Look at you.
you know, again, well, Don, it's come on, it's that new woke era, so you may want to go just give a little bit of all that. Then give one of those, you know.
Give
So
them a little extra. Yeah.
yeah. Show them all a little bit of love and hate all at the same time, because you're an equal opportunist there. Yeah, equal opportunist. Yeah.
Don, just stay in your seat and be nice to the fans, okay?
You may have to be like what the basketball coach Bobby Knight, who kept jumping out of his seat, throwing his chair out on the court. You may have to have a seatbelt on yours, huh?
Thank you for watching another episode of Double D's in your face. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.